Welcome to the Captain and the One-Legged Pirate. Today we'll be talking about mental health and living with mental health for 20 years. Um, I'd like to introduce my wife, Holly, and mental health is a big issue in our family because I have dealt with it for over my whole life. But I met Holly 21 years ago, and we've been married for 20, and um, man, she's been through it. um, it's not been easy. There's been tons of psychiatrists, tons of, losing my family, losing, you know, a lot in life. I'm going to let my wife pick up here for a little while and talk to you a little bit about what's been going on with my life and everything.
Mainly, we have a lot of diagnosis, which gets changed too, because we thought it was mainly bipolar, but based on this last psychiatrist, it's more PTSD. Plus, you have ADHD, depression, anxiety, and what's the new one?
Borderline personality disorder.
Yeah.
And I'm not real sure about that one. I don't know anything about that one, so we're not going to speak on it because um, I'm just now learning about it, and um, I don't want to throw out something I don't know about. So bipolar has been my main issue. PTSD has been a big issue. My doctors say I have triggers, um, which I do. Loud noises, uh, laughing real loud, like just in general loud issues like that.
Yeah, and a lot of people misconstrued it as you have to serve any kind of forces to have it, but no, anybody can get some kind of trauma in their life, and it's going to cause PTSD and bring up that trauma. So not just you have your trauma that you grew up with, but there's probably people out there who dealt with sexual assault, battery, violence against them, domestic, and all that is can bring up PTSD, and like you said, triggers. Um, they can have, anybody can have certain triggers that can bring up memories, even smells, being somewhere and just certain situations, and it's kind of weird, not weird, but learning because sometimes you don't even know what those triggers are. You just know that you got angry, you're upset, and then you're just having to calm down and didn't realize, what all of a sudden just caused it. You were fine just a minute ago.
Yeah, see, I go from, like, a lot of people don't realize, when you have a bipolar moment, PTSD moment, it can come and go like that. I usually I'm calm within 5 minutes if people will leave me alone. Um, but sometimes I get caught up in situations where um, I'm not able to get away from the person, and that can get bad. So,
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of people need to learn in this world, and in our United States as well, is you don't know what that person is dealing with. So I know, and I'm guilty of it myself, where you see someone driving weird or being rude in public or just acting weird or what you consider weird. Um, but you don't know what that person's going through, what just happened, what triggered something. And I've worked in customer service, and I have been since I was 16. And I've learned a lot from the years of not just the people I work with and their different mental, going on with them mentally and at home. And, a lot of times, like, oh, don't bring, your home to work or your work to home. It's hard. It's hard not to when you're dealing with stress. I'm at both locations, work and home, and I've dealt with that in the past. And where you have someone you work with that had a lot of issues and it was bringing you down, and then when you go home and you live with someone who has a lot of issues mentally, you're going down mentally. And you still have to kind of see, as well as in customer service, when someone gets angry, to remember they're just angry at the situation or what's going on, which has happened. And I think that's why a lot of education needs to be out there for police, EMTs. I mean, all the way out there. I think a lot of people who are in different workforce need more training or understanding how to deal with someone with mental illness. And even in working in retail, we dealt with different customers coming in, and they just start doing something, how to kind of deal with that situation. And number one is you don't approach that person. You don't argue with that person. If they're upset, just say, okay, I apologize, or say, hey, I'm gonna walk away. Can you please leave? Um, or I'm gonna have to call the police. Especially if you feel your life is threatened, because sometimes in those situations, if a person has a mental breakdown, they black out. They don't know what they're doing. And I know Brian has a lot of that. He's had where in the past some things happened he don't remember saying, doing, or even being somewhere because he blacked out because of an episode.
Yeah, for instance, I don't know if it's a year ago or 2 years ago, but I had a mental breakdown and I ended up in Florida. Um, Florida was not a good place for me. It was not where I needed to be. I needed to be at home. My doctor even called concerned. She wanted to, admit me for mental evaluation because I was having such a hard time. And I hid from everybody and until I got on the plane. So I don't know. It was a hard time for me. I don't think I've ever went that far as my mental breakdowns before, and it took me to a place where I didn't need to be, like, seriously. Um, I don't really want to hit on that conversation because it's hurtful, but yeah, it's hard. So,
Yeah, and one thing with mental illness, usually always associated with it is addiction. Um, because a lot of people want to self-medicate through medication, other types of form of medication or drugs, and don't realize it causes more of a mental issue than a cure. And sometimes you're not even aware of it if you're taking certain medications. And we learned that through Ryan when he had a bad problem with pain medication, which we didn't think was a problem until it got too bad and things started happening. But it was causing more anger episodes and fury, and that's what's issues with taking other forms of drugs that a lot of mental illness does take. It actually causes more harm, not just to themselves, but the people around them.
now I want to break in here and say that I didn't buy drugs. I was given my drugs to a doctor. My doctor was my drug dealer, and he was giving me more prescriptions, more